All
right, man.
What is going on, everyone? Finally,
give it up for
here we are. Showtime.
Nice, man.
Wow. Hey guys, I got to tell you, I had no idea how to make an intro to save my life, and I've spent the last 2 weeks learning how to do all this. Hopefully, it looked cool.
You killed it, man. You killed it. You've been killing the graphics on the post on Instagram, man. I love it, man. Tagging me so that I can you're making it easy for me, man, to help promote, man. So nice work, Cuda. You got some graphic skills in the family too, right?
I am trying. The little badges. Look at this.
Man, nice, man.
We're learning. We're learning.
Juice Newton in the house. Omerta Tackle, Gary Sheets, Robert Danielson, Matthew Acevedo, the swim bait stud from Jersey, Larry Hadley fishing the 262. Andrew, I heard. Yeah. Oh, man, that's awesome. 26 people.
The crew is all here.
I thought we might have like 6.
Are you ready?
Are you kidding me, man? This is my jam, dude. This is about creation. And thank you for inviting me, man. Thank you.
It is up, brother. You guys, listen. I am Mike Murphy, otherwise known as Cuda, and this is Jig Squad. And this guy right next to me here, I would be remiss not to formally introduce him, is the MOC, the Minister of Culture, Mr. Epic Eric. Eric, thank you, brother.
Oh, man, again, man, thank you for having me, man. This is how I get my creative jam on. Listen, winters are really tough for me. I walk around in circles in the Bass Lab. I go on eBay and buy stuff that I don't need, but I do discover some gems, right?
Yes,
this is when I hunt things down. This is when I come into the lab and I make stuff, man. So I'm so stoked to be a part of it, man. It really plays to what the Bass Lab is all about. Who I am, I love to create. And to me, you going out and finding extraordinary jig makers across North America and featuring them and having me as a part to talk to them with you and you being a jig maker.
Sure.
I can't tell you how stoked I am, man. So once again, thank you. Honored to be here and humbled that you reached out to me. Thank you, Cuda.
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. I think the thing is, oh, look at Matt Acevedo. He's like, I didn't know Cuda was Jig Squad. Now you know, brother.
It's the man behind the squad, man. It's like the Mod Squad, man. Did you like that show? See, I'm an old dude, man. The Mod Squad, man. This is Jig Squad.
Hey, the other day on Instagram on the story, I put on, I had like one of the intros of the songs from the Blues Brothers. And I'm laughing at myself. I'm thinking,
heck yeah,
man. Guys out there might not even know this movie, but it's a classic. So I kind of like making those cool little story posts. And here we are. It's more than a hashtag. It's more than Instagram.
It is, man. Look, man, you got Brian's Custom Tackle, man. I mean, he's dope, man. The stuff that he's pumping out. Nick Rose fishing 89. Robert Linson from the West Coast, man. Slave to the Vice Jigs. I love that. HLE. Horseshoe Tackle. Dax Marshall. Where's everybody from? Brennan Chapman. Do It Molds, man. Come on.
Lip Ripper. Lip Ripper. Nathaniel, is that you, Lip Ripper? I think that's...
He's a West Virginia, right? Pig Jigs?
Pig Jigs. Yep. That is awesome, man. Everyone's showing up. You guys, listen. So as we kind of get started today, I mean, the show tonight, more of what's happening, buddy. Basically, this is what you got. You got these two guys interviewing each other tonight. It's going to be Eric and me. And I think the important thing is we kind of get into these coming weeks is in when we're bringing in jig makers is we want you guys to understand a little bit more about the story behind Jig Squad and why we're here. And then also Eric and I are going to kind of get into it a little bit and talk about some of our philosophies about design. So you guys get a feel for that. And then kind of in future podcasts, when we're interviewing people, you'll get a feel for kind of our angle of things and where we're coming from. And the beauty of this whole thing is no one's right and no one's wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when Jig Squad, so here's how Jig Squad started, guys. 2 years back, I started throwing around in some of my posts. I started saying Jig Squad, like funny little catchphrases, things like that. And it kind of started to stick. And I'm like, this kind of should make a hashtag out of this. You start using a hashtag. So I started using it as a hashtag. And I had not even created the Instagram page for Jig Squad yet. But a little bit about me, and more of this will come out as we go through different podcasts, is that I've been making my own jigs for 20 plus years, right? And I in the last 2 years, I've really started to study about fly tying, and I kind of went in reverse. I did buy a fly rod, but I started making flies before I bought a fly rod.
I looked up there because nobody knows. I never showed on the streams. There's some Sage Axis rods, man. I've got 2 weights all the way to 8 weights. I fished trout to salt, and man, caught big bonefish on the flats, tarpon,
Yes.
hooked a permit, the ghost. But anyway, I love it.
And you know what? Interesting enough, we're going to talk about that a little bit more, because Eric and I have, we think differently on some things, but when it comes to saltwater, we have some similar philosophies on that, how it impacts our experience, bass fishing, right?
Oh, so, man, for sure.
It's true. So here's the thing. Eric and I both, right? We both love to fish the salt, right? As you can see, I got this was a present
Cuda
from my wife, and it got hung on the wall today.
Did you catch that Cuda, bro?
That is a replica, and it is not a mount. And so I have caught Cudas, and that's kind of how I got the nickname many years back.
I love catching Cuda, man. I'll tell you a quick Cuda story because I want to add to it and how it relates to Jig Squad. I want to hear it. So, dude, I was working at this company called Registry Renaissance, and the company went public, and the CEO of the company, Drew Conway, was a mad fly fisherman. So when we went public, he made some money. He either bought the jet or chartered these private jets. And if you were a fisherman, there was like a group of 6 of us that he said, you're coming to Colorado. We're going to Andros Island to bonefish. I'd never bonefish. You know it. So I tied up my own bonefish flies, like a Bonefish Charlie, some Clousers, shrimp imitators and crab imitators. But I also brought, because there were giant barracuda down there, a Sluggo SS minnow with a 1-ounce bullet sinker and a Berkeley Outbarb gold hook. And I bought a bait caster that was a 2-piece, put in a rod tube, went down. I caught a 48.5-inch barracuda on a homemade jobby made to look like a needlefish. I landed that thing. We ate it. And it was pretty cool, man. So
it's funny you say that, because in certain parts of the world, they don't want to eat. Like if you go down to Mexico, they don't want to eat the barracuda, right? And some people will. I forgot what is it called?
No, it's called ciguatera. So here's the guide trick that I learned. We all looked at each other. We knew that the barracuda might be funky, right? Okay. So they said, no, here's what we do, man. We fillet it and we lay out the fillets in the sun. And if the flies land on it, it's good meat. But if the flies don't land on it, it's got ciguatera, and we throw it away.
Why not? Sure.
So the flies know if it's poison meat. But we all looked at each other before we took that first bite, and we're like, down the hatch. We were fine. No ciguatera, man. But listen, some of that fly tying material came back in my brain. So I borrow from the trout world and the salt world when I've created some of my lures. And overseas too, JDM inspired some designs here in the Bass Lab. But you're right, man. Your trout experience and your salt experience can definitely lend a hand, because there's no limits on materials, right? There's no right or wrong, right?
It's endless. You remember, Eric, we were talking the other day, and we were saying, like, there's some anglers that they don't want to go outside of their comfort zone sometimes and try some new things, right? And the thing is, there's a reason why certain new types of jigs or other things get put out on the market. It's because people experiment, right?
That's right.
And you've got to do that. And so for me, I've been a fisherman all my life. I'm a river rat. I'm an OG river rat.
Nice.
I cut my teeth smallmouth fishing, wade in the rivers. That's long before I ever made it to the
Very
Great
cool.
Lakes. I was fishing salmon on the Great Lakes long before I started fishing smallmouth on the Great Lakes, to be honest.
Right.
And I love jig design. And the old school the bass fishing guys from the tournament scene in the Chicago area, the same guys that brought the classic to Chicago years ago, they're the ones that taught me how to fish smallmouth in the southern end of Lake Michigan. So for me, we were pouring jigs for a long time, and then I started making skirted jigs, and I had a mentor that taught me that. And then over the years, 2 years back, I like I said, I talked about the flies. I started teaching myself how to tie flies and learn how to use the materials, what the materials were.
Yeah.
And I started making jigs with these, and now I almost enjoy making hair type jigs or hybrid type jigs more than a traditional skirted jig. And,
I agree, man.
And I went shopping, Eric. I went shopping. I went out there and I basically said, you know, I'm not looking. I wasn't looking for a full-time position in the fishing industry. But what I was looking to do is to use my design skills and the things I like to do to supplement my experience in fishing. And I kind of, I'll be honest with you, I kind of fell flat on my face. This is a couple years back. So what did I do? I stopped making skirted jigs for a while, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, what else do I want to do? So I just put my head down and I fished. I made jigs for myself, and I give them out to my friends, and then finally I'm just like, man, I love this industry so much. And I go, I think there's so much more out there. And I know there's other people that like me. Look at the hybrid jig craze right now. Hybrid jig. What does a hybrid jig mean? You ask one guy, and he's going to tell you it's using living rubber or old school flat rubber. That's it. They'll call that a hybrid jig, or they'll combine materials. Everyone's got a different way to describe it. But so I said to myself, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to do what I know how to do. I know how to make jigs, and I believe in people. I'll talk with anybody. This gets me excited. It's my passion. And, you know, I do work with Do It Molds, but I'm not out there chasing down other companies and stuff, but I respect all of them.
Sure.
And I'll tell you something. I said, you know what? You got to do your own thing. And Eric, when did I start talking to you about more than just an idea about Jig Squad? When did I start talking to you about it?
Man, it's been a while.
March last year?
March. Yeah, when you really started to bring it, you know what I mean? Yes. No doubt. Yeah. And then you were like, do I go full on? I'm like, heck yeah, man. I mean, you got to brand it. This is a great idea. I mean, I think that when you hear the concept and how do you bring together a forum, if you will, and a place where, you know, custom jig makers can unite. I mean, Jig Squad's the place, right? So that's what I hope. I can't wait to bring some guests on, see what they do, check their jig craft out, you know, exchange ideas, watch them tie a few things. I mean, you know, I love it. I love it.
People excite us, Eric. I mean, people excite us, and designs excite us. Look at, so John Mango said, he goes, I grew up trout fishing, and it definitely made me a better bass fisherman. So Eric, let me ask you this. You mentioned saltwater earlier, and I talked about me mentioning saltwater. Tell me about what you believe your influence from saltwater has been on your thinking of design when it comes to bass fishing or any type of fishing. Saltwater.
Yeah. So, you know, one thing I brought from the salt that, you know, I recently created, and it was really stemming from material. So material can inspire me, right? And how to apply saltwater material to a freshwater vibrating jig or a spinnerbait. You know, every spinnerbait you see is really silicone, generally speaking, right?
Sure.
But what happens if you build it up in the shape of a minnow using puglisi fibers? You know, this little deal right here, this is nothing but a clouser, but I made this my weighted wacky hook for a Senko and just added some little bit of crystal flash and a little bit of silicone with those nice red eyes. So I have the weight that I need for weighted wacky. In Japan, they really introduced it in Japan, but it's called inchy wacky, right? So you can take any 4-inch worm. Yeah, inchy wacky. Look it up. They really did kind of invent, if you will, weighted wacky. But you know, any 4-inch worm, 4-inch Senko, but I can't even imagine like sight casting to a smallmouth with a 4-inch Senko with that little jobber right there. And once it lands on the bed or anywhere around, I just think it gives a little bit more of an attractor. It's not your just typical weighted wacky. Look, the Senko catches them wacky style good enough, right? But if you're going to throw a weighted wacky, I just throw a little bit. I mean, you've seen the Nico weighted skirted. I think VMC makes it, right?
Yes.
So this is just putting that in the middle. It's built on a saltwater Gamakatsu BS Stinger 101. That is a stout hook for the size hook that is right there. And that's actually the same hook that I caught my tarpon on, not that size, but bigger. Yeah. And so that's an excellent example of me going, that's a clouser with no deer hair and just silicone for a weighted wacky for bass fishing.
All right, so let's expand on that even further.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, I'm just saying this because, and like I said, you guys will see this in time because you'll see more come out for me on my Barracuda 8 Instagram page. So what Eric just showed you, so I am in the process of making up some of the wacky jig heads and pouring them and not tying them in with the clouser with the dumbbell eyes, but I'm pouring the weighted ones, right? And so what excites me about this is the different materials that you can use, whether it be wrapping schlappen on the front end of it, saddle hackle,
anything.
Here, look at this. Look at this. Let's see if I can see this. You guys see this?
Yeah, man, love it.
Look
That's
that.
yarn. That's yarn from a store.
This is from? Look at the bling on this.
Craft store.
Look at this. This is
Michael's.
It's Yarn Bee Gilt Eyelash. $5 for enough for you and your friends for the rest of your life.
For sure.
But
for sure.
If you look at this material, this is very similar to Senyo's Aqua Veil, which is basically you use the material and look at so Adam Felder just made the comment. He got 8 colors. So I had sent Eric. I sent a message to Adam, and I said, "Hey, dude," I said, "Listen," I said, "you got to try this material out. It's fantastic for wrapping, and it adds this sparse type of lay over whatever you're putting on your jig, right? And however you want to do it. The poor man's chenille is Adam.
That's right, man. It's like a woolly booger, you know, kind of material, but fatter and more bait fishy, if you will, so, and cheap.
I'm gonna make up a couple different versions. And to be honest with you, I got the idea from you posting your itchy scratchy. What is it called?
The shaky jigworm?
Yeah, the shaky jigworm. Well, I could say shaky jigworm, but what did you call it? It's based off of the itchy who?
Oh, the inchy wacky. No, this one. The one I just showed is inchy wacky. The shaky jigworm is something completely different.
Right, not the shaky jigworm. The inchy wacky.
Inchy wacky technique. Read about it. Maybe it wasn't discovered in Japan, but all I can tell you is when it first came, weighted wacky, not weightless wacky, weighted wacky. It was called inchy wacky in Japan, and it came to the States. So I'm sure somebody along the way put a weighted a wacky hook on something and fished it before the Japanese did. So hey, if you heard about it before the Japanese did it, make a comment below.
It's right. Post up. Eric,
right on.
It's funny for years on a wacky rig hook, I would take the old school rubber core sinkers that just were cylindrical, and I would pull the rubber core out, right? And I would crimp them on the shaft of the hook. And that's what I would use. And it was 8. There were 2 sizes I would always use, 8 and 16. And I would use that for many years.
The Gremlin bull shot is another one because it's in the shape of a bullet weight. And so that could be a poor man's drop shot or another way without buying lead core sinkers with rubber gaskets to add weight to a spinner bait or even a jig. If you were really, you had a 3/8 ounce and it was your last, you needed a half and you're carrying some bull shot, you can just add the lead to the shank. I used to wrap it with thread and then I would paint the thread. So that's
Really?
with nail polish, right? So I'd have a lead core sinker on a wacky hook, which was the Gremlin bull shot right on the head, and it might have been
Yes.
a weedless weighted wacky.
Nice.
Yeah, I used some Falcon. Falcon made a little wacky hook like that, so it was a cheap, quick way to do it. Put it in the Renzetti rotary vise,
Yeah.
wrap it heavy with red thread, and then throw some red Sally Hansen on the top. Man, now you got like a red lead head weighted wacky. And before, I thought of doing the Clouser minnow style weighted wacky, if you will, with that BS Stinger, which is a bad ass hook.
The B10S. I'm
Yeah,
going to be
that's
using that for making a couple other
that's the
things
one.
coming up that I'll share. I'll share in time. I won't share
That's
them until
exactly
I
right.
actually make them. But
That's right.
but that hook is it's probably one of the biggest workhorses in the entire saltwater. There's a lot of other hooks that are great, but that
Dude,
B10S,
did
just
you
because of the way the line tie is on it, that's what I've used to
correct.
tie most of my stuff.
But it's correct, man, and it hooks the hell out of them. I mean, what attracted this to me, right? Because most of what you see from Gamakatsu and that B10S Stinger is the black nickel, right? But did you know they made a saltwater one? So if you're looking for a little extra flash, see, I think about hook and color, right? I'm a big red fan. Everybody says red disappears first. Not when I'm fishing a foot of water, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
right.
it disappears at 8 to 10, but I'm a river rat. Deep is 8 foot to me. And below a red Gamakatsu hook is gold. So once they chew that paint off that red hook, you got a little gold flash going. But that BS Stinger with that silver, and that dude is super sticky sharp, man. If he eats it, he's coming in the boat, man. So anyway, I'm gonna bring this up to smallmouth country with Travis. I mean, you could wacky a net on that, you could wacky a 4-inch Senko on that thing, but sight fishing, I think that would be deadly. Deadly sight fishing small. He sees that, he's gonna want to smash it.
It excites me because it's incorporating probably one of the top 3 most iconic fly designs in saltwater fishing, right? Or in all of fishing, to be honest with you.
I mean, the Clouser minnow.
Clousers are bass. The smallmouth in the rivers love Clousers, right?
Right.
And it's just that whole design. It's just the contours of it. It's so phenomenal. I was so excited when you originally showed that, Eric. I said I'm going to make some of these, and I just recently got into Do It Mold's wacky jig mold, and that's
awesome,
that's
man.
what I'm going to make. That's what I'm going to make. And to be honest with you, I have so many of my old manufactured ones that I'd make up myself with crimped on weights. I basically anything new I'm going to tie. Anything new I pour, I'm going to tie on. And I just think there's a lot of cool different things. I'm thinking about some rabbits, some hair, some schloppen, and sparse material. This is my new thing. Less is more.
I like it, man. I'm going to show one more thing to give you a sense of who I am.
Let's see it. Come
as
on.
a jig maker. So
bring it on, brother.
I wanted to combine 2 of the most deadly things out there: the shaky head and the jig. And so this is one of the first ones I tied. You can clearly see super sparse, right? I think that's a Strike King jig, shaky head. And you can see there's not a lot of room between where I tied the material and then the keeper, right? The keeper for the worm. But I took that down at Smith Mountain Lake. I was with Austin Neary from Dreamcatchers Fishing, man. And I absolutely wore them out. And then I started looking at it going, what else can I put on that? So, Matthew Acevedo said, man, he talked about Finesse jigs. And, me, I'm a big JDM nut. And you've probably seen some of their Finesse jigs that are just super long material. Like, I mean, it's long. And it's on a Finesse jig, like a 3/32 ounce or an 1/8 ounce. But it's super. They leave it long for a purpose, right?
Right.
I mean, Japan, pressured fish. You got to find unique lures, unique design. So I'm totally into the design part. So my next generation was to tie it super long, right? Keep it sparse, add a little bit of crystal flash. And I trim some of this too. I might get a little heavy sometimes with it, and then put a little schlappen on the front. So that was the next generation of the shaky jig worm. I took it out to the Potomac. In fact, I don't have a black and blue. I sold them all, but this is a purple one. And but just imagine it in black and blue. And this is round rubber, by the way, with
Yeah.
a UV crystal flash and some purple schlappen. I like how springy rubber is. You know, the silicone to me is a little bit deader in the water, but I imagine when living rubber or round rubber is on the bottom, it's springy and it's going across a piece of structure and it's popping. I wonder what a bass feels or hears and picks up with their lateral line, that vibration. It's got to be a lot more with living rubber, right? And so, you know, I always want a flat side worm on that, but that shaky jig worm has put so many big fish in the boat for me, especially in wintertime. I don't move it a ton, you know, I shake it in place a lot, but they responded immediately. First day I took it out was a 5-pounder with my buddy Tim McGlenn on the Potomac. First trip out, I was so stoked, man. It put several fish in the boat for me. So
interesting enough, Horseshoe Tackles made a comment a little while ago, and Eric, his was specific about the B10Ss. He said he likes tying the keepers on. Hold on, if I click this, will it show it? Oh wow, look at this!
You could share the screen.
I'm an experienced YouTuber now. I'm clicking buttons and it works. It didn't break anything, Eric. This is amazing. So interesting thing, tying the keepers on the B10Ss. Now here's the other thing. Somebody else who just said was it
so instead of a molded lead keeper, he's tying the keeper in with fluorocarbon. I mean, there's many ways to do it, right? I mean, one of my favorite drop shot worm hooks right now is the what is it, the owner cover shot, and it's got a nice soft, you know, it's a looped, if you will, piece of, it's either monofilament or fluorocarbon, but it doesn't tear the worm up as much, and it really holds it in place, and it's far enough down the shank where, you know, it sticks on nicely if you're Texas or weedless, you know, drop shotting, if you will.
All right, so here's one for you, Eric. So Acevedo says, let me highlight it. Anyone ever tried to double rig drop shot with a finesse jig? So, man,
I absolutely have tried that.
Same here.
I can't remember having a banner day on it, but I thought it was the most brilliant thing when I read about it. You know, like the jig is the weight and then the drop shots up. I've heard about if it's legal in your state. Now think about this: 3 drop shots.
Oh, like
a jig and then 2 more above it, like a worm and then a crawl. I know it sounds crazy. I don't know if it's legal, right? I don't know if that would be legal.
Just depends on where you're at, right?
Why not? Right.
So saltwater stuff again, Eric. Eric, I'm going to bring this out one of these nights on the show. I actually made a jig, I'm going to call it, but basically it's a board with I've got nails along the way, and I can use it to put a spool of line on the end, and I can go and make high-low rigs, but I can make them very quickly, and I use those for surf fishing. And the thing is, and I can adjust. I can make it with 2. I can make it with 3. I can make it with 3 and not put a hook on the 3rd one. But conceptually, there's absolutely no reason why it wouldn't work. Man, I'm going to be honest with you. This is a full disclosure statement. Every time, well, not every time. It's worked a couple of times, but a majority of the time when I've tried running a finesse jig on the bottom, I have got my arse. Eric's laughing already. He knows what I'm going to say. I've got my arse snagged.
I know, it's tough.
And to be honest with you, a lot of that was because of river fishing and just not acclimating myself towards the feel of the bait. But I will tell you this: I don't know if my buddy's in the room or not. Let me scroll down. I'm a little behind, I think. I don't know if my buddy's in the room, but last time we were out on a northern Illinois medium-sized river, we were fishing the back end of a bridge, and the current was pretty good kicking through there, which you're going to get on a medium-sized river. You're going to get a lot of build-up and sticks and just everything coming off the little point coming off the back of the bridge piling. And so I pull out my drop shot rod, and I would cast up by the top of the bridge piling, and I felt like I was doing the walleye thing, and I would just lift and bounce, going down the slope, and I was cracking a couple smallies. But the thing is, I wouldn't traditionally use that technique in that way. I say this because that's the way I've tried that double rig before.
Matthew brought up a good point. He said he thinks it excels on sandy or smaller kind of pea gravel bottom, right? So you're not hanging up as
Yes.
much. I mean, look, we've all been there with smallmouth fishing, man. You're going to lose some lures, and that just sucks. I mean, it's hard enough tying up multiple drop shots right in a day, but then you're losing a $5.99 jig or whatever you put on the bottom.
Right.
That shouldn't stop you if it's an effective technique. So, hey, can we step back for a minute? Because listen, Jig Squad, I'm going to get the order. I'm going to get the order wrong. It's color, flow, design. Do I have it right, or is it? Give me the order, man.
You had them all. You all had all three right. Flow.
I told you I was going to get it wrong. Flow is the first one.
Listen, I'm going to be.
Why did you pick the order? Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
the three words.
Let's go.
Flow, design, color, or flow, color, design. I thought design would be first. Okay, so is that why? Is that what you think about when you think about jig tying?
Yes.
Okay.
So here's why. Design, you're always going to get there. Anything you make is going to be a design element, right? It's about your creative juices. It's always going to be part of your experience. But
does design? I'm gonna write notes while you're talking, if you don't mind.
Yes, you take notes.
And you know I'm Italian, so I'm gonna interrupt, and I'm sorry in advance.
Let's go.
All right. So design, can mean more than just the colors and flow. It can also solve a problem.
It could solve a problem. That's exactly
right. And so I want to put a button on that note. Design in some cases should solve a problem for the angler, right? Okay.
Are you going to try and get me to reverse the order?
No, I would never do that. All right. So all right. Solve a problem. All right. I want to come back to that. So
yes,
keep going.
I do too. Solve a problem.
So flow is first. What's next?
Flow, then color. There's only one more left.
All right.
Only three.
No. What are the? Give me the order again.
Sorry.
I'm excited.
Flow, color, design.
Okay, design is last in your book. Okay, got it. So let's talk about why you picked that order. As Cuda, the founder of Jig Squad, I want to hear it. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, Andrew is asking, I hate to do this, but I'm just going to say right off the bat, he's already asking where the flow merchandise is. So, I'll put it up again, Andrew.
Jig Squad.
Oh, gosh. All right, so to answer Eric's question, all right, flow I put first, and I will tell you why. If I had to pick one that I like more than any others, it's color. But
really,
I am a color nut.
Me too.
I love color. I love it from an artist's perspective. I think color brightens things. You can read all you want about how color impacts your experience fishing and what depth you can't see a jig color anymore. But I like color. I'm the guy that makes it, right? If somebody else is selling it, good for you. Make it whatever color you want. But when I'm making my own jig, I like color. Right. But here's why flow is more important to me. I think that flow is more important because everything that you should, now this is going to play off of what you said about design to an extent, Eric. Flow is about what something looks like in the water, right? It's about profile. It's about size. It's about how much water it moves.
Sure.
Right. So probably Adam Felder, SDG Custom Lurecraft in chat is going to go, yes, after I say this. But I learned that from who I think is one of the best in the business when it comes to fly tying, and that's Gunnar Brammer. And if you've never looked up Gunnar Brammer, you should. And if you are a jig maker out there and you make hybrid jigs, whatever your hybrid jig is, you should look up Gunnar Brammer.
Well, put him up with the banner. His name.
Gunnar Brammer. Okay, let's see if I can.
Because that Cuda accent, man. I don't know if you're saying Brammer or Banner or Branter or Banter.
Is it AR or ER? I think it's AR. No,
right.
Maybe ER.
Freak show.
Does anyone know? Anyone in there?
SDG.
I gotta add it.
SDG knows. Yep.
I gotta make a banner. See, this is. Look at
and it's tough. See, look at that. That's a big ask of me on the first night. What am I thinking?
Well, dude, it's important. We've got to learn these things.
That's true.
We've got to overcome. So
That's right.
I spelled it wrong, which odds are I probably did. Let's see what chat said. All right.
Gunner. Oh, I thought it was Gunter. Okay, so Gunner Brammer.
Oh yeah.
That's how I spelled Brammer. So I think you're right.
So it's close enough.
Yeah, close enough. You'll find him.
It's an AR or an ER. He talks about how you create profile in the water,
Mhm.
and it involves things like adding bulk
Sure.
to the fly. And when he says bulk, he just doesn't mean the amount of material. He means how it creates a belly or a frontal portion or a
Mhm.
head on a fly so that it pushes water. Here's why I
Right.
bring it up. Eric's heard me say this before. I have to get this gunner because I feel like I'm spelling it wrong. Let's get it off. Let's go here. Let's do this one. The revolution begins. All right. So I think that we're trying to replicate something in the water. And in most instances, it's what there's two answers, and everyone's going to say likely the same thing. So what are our lures trying to replicate in the water? One, some type of crayfish,
Sure.
crawfish, whatever, however you say it,
Right.
and then some type of bait fish.
Sure.
And then, of course, there's always a reactionary bite. Okay.
Sure.
But the reality is, when you're talking mineral type profiles,
Mm-hmm.
we should, as jig designers, consider how we're creating profile in the water and what type of flow that creates.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, there's two types of flows. Well, actually, there's a lot of type of flows, and I think everyone in the chat, whether you're a jig maker or you just use jigs, you should think about this. You should ask these questions when you're designing stuff. What do I want the flow to look like in the water? So Eric's heard me say this. So I could take a mop, and stick it in the water and move it back and forth, right? And it's gonna sway. And there's a lot of volume. There's a lot of bulk. There's a lot of material, right? And it's going to be slow and arduous, right? It's probably going to move a lot of water because there's a lot of material.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, my personal idea of flow is less material, more wispiness, and more movement in the water as a result. It doesn't mean it moves more water. It means that I feel the material has more movement in the water when you use less material.
Sure. Okay. So you're a sparse tire.
I am. I am now, Eric. I am now, but I don't think I was when I first started tying jigs, or I don't even think I was even 10 years ago.
So I'll throw something out there.
All right, let's go.
How do we, as jig tires, like I think of the mop jig, which is, I've had a chance to fish with some pretty good bass fishermen. The dean over at the Bass University is one of them, and he's like, if you're looking for the bigger bite, post spawn, pre spawn, put the mop jig in your hand and don't put it down. That is a bulky, not sparse, uber full profile that triggers big bites. So I think there's two sides, right? Certainly sparse and flow can trigger a lot of bites, but maybe big and bulky sometimes can trigger bigger bites, right?
So
like think about those saltwater flies, how big they
comment.
are. Like I tied up, this is a crazy story from my fly fishing days. So the North Branch of the Potomac in Western Maryland is known for monster trout. An 18-pound, this is in my home state of Maryland, an 18-pound brown trout came out of that river. I took an eight weight fly rod up there with Monarch clear fly line that disintegrated on me after this trip. I don't know why. I think I cleaned it with the wrong material. Anyway, so I'm like, I'm going to be super stealthy with clear fly line.
Right.
I tied up trout imitators flies. They basically were like, they look like billfish flies. I was laughing at it.
Big streamers,
huge streamers, man. And I tied them on the stinger, the BS stinger, like tarpon size hooks.
Yeah.
Dude, I raised up so many giant trout. I hooked none. We drove up in a fog, got there. The sun popped out. It was already high above the trees. They were a little bit spooky. I was counting on low light to go fool these trout. I saw trout that made me shake. And literally there was two big boulders in the stream at a turn in the stream. And there was one big brown that was about 30 plus inches. He was really snaky. And he worked it. That was his beat. A 30-inch brown trout is a monster. I mean, I don't know how many people have caught a 20-inch brown trout. Anyway, this thing is over 30 inches. I threw that rainbow trout out there, man. That thing came over, looked, and then just bugged back into his lair. He used to sit under this undercut bank on a tree. Anyway, I went to the next spot, which was 2 giant boulders. This was the prime line. This should have the biggest trout in the stream. I threw it in the eddy behind the rock. Another big ass trout came up, looked at it, and just submarined back down. I didn't catch one of them, but I can tell you this: I moved a lot of them. It was almost like swim bait fishing, glide bait fishing. So I just think that it really opens up your brain to, we could throw things that are really super tiny and catch big bass, and we could throw big things that can catch big bass. How do we apply that to jig fishing, right? Jig fishing, streamers, the whole Jig Squad concept. Micro to macro. You don't see a lot of macro jigs out there.
No, you don't. And it's interesting. It's good that you said that, Eric. So like, even though philosophically that tends to be my design focus, like of how I approach something right now, like Omerta Tackle says right here, he goes, what does it do when it's doing nothing? Don't mind me, the phone's gonna ring. I can't do anything about
Cuda,
that.
who the hell is calling you right now?
I think, you know what, hopefully somebody in my family is answering. That's my dad. My dad's in the hospital. So
pick it up, bro. If you got to take it, pick it up.
No. It's all good.
If that's family first, man. We'll take an intermission.
No. Don't come tell me if something's up.
Okay.
It's all good. He's okay. He's getting better. No problems.
Good.
So what I was going to say about this is that it's so interesting because you're right. So I could easily take the opposite stance of what I just described regarding flow and movement in the water and tell the story from the other side, right? And say why a larger bulkier profile, like a larger jig, something you talked about. Hey, how about this? And Omerta's talking about no movement, which is great, which is classic mop style fishing. Just let them hang there. I think it just irks the heck out of them. But did you see who made Salzy? Salzman just came out with that shuttlecock.
Yeah.
That thing's ginormous. It's a big jig, right? And he's got 2 big saddle hackles or feathers hanging off the back end of that thing. That's the real deal. I mean, look at James.
I mean, think about it. That's when they're, it depends on the forage that's in your water, right? If they're eating on big gizzards, right?
Right.
I mean, you got to have something that's going to appeal to that bigger bass for that bigger bite, right? They're looking for that bigger meal. Like pre-spawn for me on the Potomac, they want a bigger crankbait. If I want a 5+ pound, not to say they won't eat anything else, but I've had really good success throwing a beefed up 1.5, like 4 times the size of a 1.5.
Yeah, it's interesting. And so Eric, here's another thing too. I still think Larry Hadley, thanks for those kind words. He's doing okay. He's just going to be in for a few days for some recovery stuff, and he's all good. He had surgery 2 weeks ago and some complications on the back end, but he's good.
Good.
So I lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was going to say.
No, we're just talking about, flow,
right?
Tying sparse versus tying full. We're talking about, size of bait, micro baits versus macro baits. I mean, right. But you picked flow, and that's where this whole little diatribe started off.
Flow,
you picked flow first.
Flow is less material to me.
Okay. Got it.
That's the type of flow that I am drawn to in my designs.
Right on. Right? And then why is color second?
So color is second because if now keep in mind this was having to put them in order for Jig Squad, but if you pulled Mike Murphy to the side and you twisted my arm to find out what excites me the most,
color.
It's all day. It's color number one. But I have moved my designs into see, here's the thing. Here's another thing. This will be good to say. You'll see little trends of what I post on Instagram under Jig Squad once in a while. Yeah. By the way, I just saw there's like 40 people on here.
There's 47.
There's 47.
Cuda, congrats.
Hey, dude, you guys, I appreciate the heck out of you. I'm going to tell you something. I'm looking it straight in the camera when I say this. I worked my tail off to make this thing go off, and I appreciate every last one of you. I honestly do, because there's I could say, send it to Fishing for Life or something like that. DM it to Fishing for Life and whoever these goofy people are on Instagram when we get these goofy messages. But here's the deal. I post your stuff because I like it. It's not a send it in and I'll just repost everything. I go through everyone's pages whenever I can and I have downtime and I look and whatever's catching my eye that night, that's what I post. It's not that the other things you have aren't good enough. It's just one of those things. You'll see some nights I'll post a whole bunch of brown and orange jigs of other creators. And it's just sometimes I'll post more hair jigs. It's just kind of what I'm finding and rolling through that night. What did Jamie say? So the Cuda flow seems more like action than just movement. I would say both. It just depends on how you look at it, right? Let me clarify further. I like less material. That's my new jam in my designs right now, right?
Right.
For some, it's not. I'll tell you what, here, I pulled out an old jig box and I've given a lot of my jigs away. But look at it. There. You see this? This is a lot of material to me.
Okay.
This is what I consider a lot of material.
Right.
Right? That's me. Here's some other ones from back in the day. This is my bluegill.
Yep.
That's my bluegill from back in the day.
Okay.
Right. And these are old. These are my older jigs, right? And these actually I pulled these up because they're in my I want to retie. These still have rubber skirts on it. So for all you out there to tie skirts, yes, great. It works. I put even silicone in with I tie it in now too. But I will tell you, rubber skirts work just fine for me for many years, and I lost more jigs or gave them away long before I ever had a problem with the rubber failing. But now, just because it's I have a vise, I tie, I do these different things. I'm not a big fan. Look at Nate. We salute you, Cuda. Yeah, I salute you too, brother. I don't like wire tying. I like tying with thread, right?
Yeah.
And it's just because I learned to tie flies, and it's kind of like that's how I do it now. But for a while, I was using wire. I know I start to go all over the place. Hey, you guys, listen. I want to show something. If you guys don't mind, let me look in comment. Gary, Sheets, all you guys, listen. I'm learning. This is my first time ever running anything on YouTube, okay? I'm trying. I'm learning.
Doing great, man.
You just got to bear with me as I learn. This guy, I got to tell you, look at this. That guy, Skippy. Every single one you see in chat, everyone who's in chat right now, you should throw your Instagram tag out there in chat.
Sure.
Throw your Instagram tag out there in chat. And folks, if you're not following the people in this room, these are all the people that are on my A team, right? These are the people that are watching Jig Squad. They're following along on Instagram, and without all of you, this doesn't exist. So, I'm just putting that out there. But listen, as you guys do that, put your tags at whatever the heck you're, like Nate, Lip Ripper. Put your Pig Jigs tag in chat so everyone can see these other things. Look at Morph's out there. He's got his stuff. Gary, 9K Elite Lures out of Goshen, Indiana. Guys, this is me. You guys want to know what Jig Squad is? Wait, let me see if I can get this right. Eric, that would be my, right this way. Eric,
the Cuda.
This is it, dude. You guys, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to bring, I want to bring a conversation about jig design out there. And in these conversations, some of the things being talked about in chat, and we're going to bring people in and we're going to talk about it. And,
yeah, man. Heck yeah.
Hey, guys, listen, I got to tell you, a lot of bangers in the room, man. Brian's Custom Tackle. Hey, look at this. Here, I'm going to highlight this guy because this guy doesn't have nearly the amount of followers that he should. If you have not seen the paintwork by Larry Hadley, you are missing out. I think he is the hottest painter in the entire jig game.
Who's that?
The hottest painter.
What's it? How do you find Larry?
On Instagram at the Angler, and wait till you see his stuff. And I've spotlighted some of his jigs on my page. And look at this guy. Look at this fella in the room here too.
That's
Brian
right,
Smith,
man.
Custom Baits. Guys, everyone, man. And I got to tell you, you want to see some killer crappie stuff and bass stuff. I consider crappie stuff bass stuff. Look at this, trippy sticks. All these guys, man, everyone, guys. Listen, this isn't a club. I don't know what to say. I mean, I will tell you, there's going to be merch someday. There's going to be merch, but I will tell you, this will become what people make of it, right? I'm going to play my part. I'm going to do what I need to do to put stuff out there. I'm trying, but listen, I got a little something that I got to show everyone.
What you got, Cuda?
I told Eric. Listen. Here's the deal, Eric. Let me tell you something. Eric is on this podcast because one, he's a friend, and two, because he has a passion and excitement for doing things, right? He loves design, and I love that about him. He's energizing, and that's why he's here. And I appreciate Eric's got his own things coming up, right? Hold on, let me do it, Eric. I got it. Wait.
All right, man.
Let me go. Hold on. Instagram. So here's Eric's Instagram page. Right, but more importantly, this is why I like him more, not just because of his cat page. So Epic Eric's Bass Lab, right? And this is his Instagram page. You got to go check it out. And if you want to go a little further, and by the way, all these links will be. This is his site where he's putting out some custom things he's made. He's got some custom crankbaits. And don't worry about if you don't have to jot that down. All the links are available. Look at that, Eric. You see that flow? I went right into the next one. All the links are down in the description, right? So, like I said, check out Eric's stuff. But here's the deal. I told Eric the other day, I said, Eric, I made something for you. And he probably, I don't know if he thought this. He's probably thinking, oh, this is a jig or something. Cuda made some goofy jig. I didn't make a goofy jig. I made something cooler. And do you guys want to see it?
Yes, I do.
Let's see. What does chat say? We gotta get some votes here. Do people want to see what I made for Eric?
Yes. Yeah, okay, guys.
Do.
Guys, you want to see what Cuda made for me? I'm dying over here, man. He teased me last night with it. We did a little test run for the show just to make sure we were proper.
Yeah, this is like I can't believe there's this many people in here. You guys,
I thought maybe we'd have like 8.
I wasn't sure, man.
Neither am I, man. I honestly didn't know.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I'm going to click it. Get ready. Here we go.
All right. I'm ready.
Keep your eyes on the screen, brother.
Doing it. Dude, I love it, man. That's awesome, man.
I got skills, brother. It's starting to flow.
That's got flow, man. It's alive.
I threw that together and I go, that's a freaking trout stream. That's a trout stream. We all know it's a trout stream.
Yeah, man. That's where I belong, man. In the water, man. That's where the ideas are born, bro. Thank you. That's dope.
So, guys, I have no idea if Eric's ever going to be able to use this to play it or anything else, but I'm going to play it once in a while because this kind of highlights the Bass Lab. And
I appreciate that, man.
And like I said, the Bass Lab is Eric's kind of playground where he gets to do all that cool stuff that you see behind him. He paints cranks. He makes some cool little Ned rigs and stuff, and so support Eric, guys. Take a look at his stuff, follow along. But I'll be kind of promoting his stuff here and there just because Eric's an awesome dude, and this is what he does, and he does it for the love of the game, right?
You got that right, man. You got that right. There's no question about it, man. I brought out a little vintage bait, man.
Come on, man. Let's go.
So who remembers this vibrating jig? If you can name this vibrating jig, you are a vibrating jig fool. Okay, it is not a Z-Man. It is not a Z-Man. The dead giveaway is this material on the bottom and the head shape. But they didn't make it. I tied it up. And you talk about this is not a Z-Man. Who remembers this? Let's see. We're going to talk about design because this for me, this incorporates all 3 in my book, right?
Okay.
So the flow of this bait which is Cuda is in love with, is
I know.
unmatched
I love it.
in the vibrating jig game, because that is a Magnum Zonker strip on the back.
Yes.
And I think I hackled the bunny strip up the shank. I put a ton of flash in it.
There
I
is
wanted
a lot
something.
of flash in there and a little red too.
Oh yeah, a little bleeding stripe on the bottom. Let's see. Has anybody seen this? What about design? We're talking about it right now. This is not an old Z-Man. This is not an original Z-Man. Nope,
Does Jamie have it right?
It's not an original rad. It is not.
I don't know.
This is not an original rad, man. I probably forget it. I just had it in my brain. Now it's out of my brain. I'll think about it in a second. Yeah, I got it. I got it. No.
Come on.
All right. So I'll keep rolling. I got it. I'm going to write it down, because if I forget it, I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm writing it down.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on.
They did get
now? Look, I got a notepad too. Here, let me take notes.
Please. They did get sued. So I retired this vibrating jig. There's a couple problems with it. When you tie fur on a hook and you don't dry it out, it can rust, right? So that's one thing that is a downside to tying natural fur material on this. But in the water, this thing comes alive, right? I wanted a white perch imitator for my rivers, because in the spring, big largemouth feed heavily on white perch, because the white perch run starts before the bass spawn. So you got bass and pre-spawn, white perch running up these rivers to spawn. So a lot of times I'd be either Carolina rigging a drop and I'd see a white perch tail down a 5-pounder's gullet. So I wanted a vibrating jig to attract bigger bites. This thing in the water, I'm sorry, no trailer can match this. It's super natural and it's got crazy flow. It just Phoenix vibrator. Who got it?
Oh, Dax Marshall.
Dax Marshall, man. Good
Dax
man.
Nailed it.
Dax nailed it, man. So I retired
when
it.
Was this, Eric? Was this
I don't even remember. I don't even remember.
After?
Yeah, but I hand tied the skirt and just threw a lot of material in it. If I didn't like it, I could pull stuff out. But you saw, I made that thing glinty, buddy. That is glinty. But I wanted the purplescent of a white perch. Because, if you look at a white perch and you turn him, he's got that purplescent kind of look to it. He's got that smoky head, right? So I want a little bit of a gray smoky back. But I really want a ton of flow and action.
Purple there.
Yeah.
You got purple in there, like a little mirage or...
Oh yeah, man. Absolutely. So let's talk about the materials, man. I got my bag of materials. This is my. I won't show it all tonight, but
I got materials, buddy. I brought a few up just to kind of.
You had to, man. Yeah. So it's Flash Blue Mirage. I'm not certain it's that color, but that's 3304. But yeah, you can see I'm almost down. I'm almost out. But yeah, so I heavied it up with that. But dude, there's so much material out there. There's Polar Flash, right? That's a good one too, man. I like the Polar Flash. It's got a little more silver in it for more of a shad imitation look, man. But Flash Blue adding to your, I wanted to show a little trick, but I couldn't find it. So I'll just tell you. So let's say you got a swim jig that's white and they didn't put any Flash Blue in it. Go buy yourself some Flash Blue and get what they call a dental floss threader. So if you have really tight teeth and you can't get floss in between it, it's like this piece of plastic that is fused the two ends together and forms a loop. Sure. So you stick that through your pre-banded jig skirt if it's not hand tied, and you just stick the point through the rubber band, and then you put a couple pieces of this Flash Boo material in, and then you pull it through the skirt. Now you've got some Flash Boo right in there. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. You can hack it up, man. You can hack it up. You can add color strands. Yeah, it's to a pre-made jig that you love and just have any flash to it. So, nice. Yeah.
Flash is a big thing. Like a lot of people are adding flash, crystal flash, flash blue, all different types of things. Here, listen, let me show you this material.
All right, we got to get to the last thing in your tagline. So before we do, we got you and me. We got ADD. That's a fact.
That's why we're here.
So we are. You got to talk about design.
Okay. Me? You want me to talk about design? You want to talk about design?
No, it's your tagline. Okay, I wanted to know why you picked the order. You said flow. We got that. We heard you. Color. So, we know it excites you, right? And truth be told, you're a color guy first, and now design.
I might change it. Color, flow, design. No, I'm joking.
So here's the deal. It's up to you. You could do it. You're the owner. You're the founder. You can do whatever you want.
All it takes is a little graphically skilled switcheroo, and I'm done. Hey, we have time until any merchandise comes out, maybe someday. We got a little bit of room to adjust, right?
You sure do, man.
Here's the deal. This is why I designed, and these were guys. Just so everyone knows, these are like words that like stuck out to me. It's like what does my craftings? What do I think? Like, what words are important to me? And design is important to me, and I'll tell you why. I made a little comment about it earlier, but I'm going to say more about it now. So, and this is not definitively not a knock towards anyone in any way, because I believe any design somebody puts out there or their creation is significant. It's cool stuff. And but what I also think is that I think that we are part of an industry, and that's not us as jig designers. I think the fishing industry, and you guys all know this, you've been in probably six gazillion conversations about it, but imitation is the greatest form of flattery, right?
Big time. We all borrow from each other, man.
It's exactly right. And some people call it being a copycat, which I don't agree with. I think that it's fit and function. Sometimes people, there are times people could describe all these different adjectives to talk about these things. But design to me is about having intent and purpose behind what you're making. And let's say that I was on my little color high, right? And it was just, I'm like, I want to make a crazy cool color incorporating chartreuse in orange, something crazy. Like I've got saltwater in my head. I'm chasing snook off the beach.
Yeah, you want to do a shot color. I talked about shot colors. Yes, got it.
Yes, I'm with you. And the thing is, I know for a fact, and there's some people, look at Fishing with Gramps. What's up, buddy?
Hey, see, there you go with color again, man. You're back to color. See, Cuda, you're a color guy.
I am, dude. Maybe I got to change it, but I'm not gonna.
No, I want people. Flow is the right word.
I want people to talk about why they design the way they do. I would venture to guess that more guys that are in the room that are potentially that they sell jigs in small business or a company. I would venture to guess in many of those instances they have thought more about why they design certain jigs the way they do.
Yeah, I can't wait to get the guys on that have designed jigs, and I want to hear about it.
Right.
I mean, for sure, man.
And everyone's got a different reason for what they were trying to build. And I think that I don't know if years ago when I first started making jigs, I don't know if I had a story. And I want people to have a story. I want you to have intent behind why you make what you do. And the thing is, you want to excite somebody. I mean, words are important, right?
Sure.
And if you're able to verbalize or communicate with people, look at Skimpy, match the hatch, right? That phrase is exactly the type of thing, right? And it doesn't have to be exactly match the hatch, but tell me what you're going for. Eric said shot color. Are you trying to shock them? The thing is, we all know that shot colors work sometimes, right? We all know that
why does
works.
Right. Why does a merthiolate worm catch them like crazy in the spring? Who knows?
Morning dawn, right?
Morning dawn. Yeah. I mean, what imitates merthiolate for a bass? I don't know, but they bite it.
Why is it that
why hasn't somebody made a completely merthiolate vibrating jig?
Why do all of our paint or most of our paint colors in many ways are bright and glossy?
Mm-hmm.
Are they matte? Is a fish glossy? Is a fish matte?
Well, a fish seems glossy when he's wet. He's glossy.
Does he give off light from his scales? Are there elements of a fish that look more matte or a crawfish? Right? All the above apply. But the thing is,
who knows?
It's a good here. I'll give you another example, and we're gonna find everyone's gonna hear about this in a couple of weeks, because in 2 weeks we have a show next week, and I'll talk about that in a little bit because he's in the room. I don't know if I'm gonna make my comment first.
Go ahead, man. Plug the upcoming show. People are here. They want to know who's coming up
in 2 weeks, and then I'm going to talk about next week's show. In 2 weeks, the designer that's coming out in 2 weeks owns a jig company, and he specifically designed his jig. This is Ryan Whitaker from Tightrope Jigs, and Ryan is a friend of mine. He's a fellow Chicago native, and or
Chi-town.
lives in Chicago. And
Chi-town.
Ryan designed his jigs specifically to replicate gobies and bottom movement. And there's some very specific things about that as to why he designed things the way he did. But I'll let him talk about that in time.
Right. So there's intent, which is cool, man.
And
I love it.
And if you want to sell, even if you don't want to sell things, if you want them to work and you want to have confidence in what you're using, which for me is a big thing, because I don't sell things. Like I want to have confidence in what I'm using. I want to be able to understand why I designed something the way I did. And I think that the common denominator for jig designers out there should be that they talk about intent and they tell people what their intent is. And if they describe those things, I think that it helps so much more about, well, one, if you want to sell jigs, great. And two, it's also a confidence booster. When you design with intent and then it works, bam. You know,
no question about it. Heck yeah, man. There's no question about it, man.
Next week, Eric, he's in chat. And I think that he is one of the most educated designers out there in terms of understanding the fly world.
Yeah.
He is joining us on the 6th. Adam Felder, he's in chat, SDG Custom Lorecraft. That's love awesome. Adam. I love Adam. I love everyone in this chat because I post about all of you.
You love everybody.
But I love Adam because Adam is a little bit ahead of me in terms of my adventure, in terms of the fly tying component introduced into the bass fishing jig, right? Everything I think about, I watch Adam post videos about it. I go, oh my God, I think about these things. And Adam, here he is. He's posting videos about them. And if you haven't checked out Adam's YouTube page, SDG Custom Lorecraft, you should, because he's energetic. His tutorials on jig tying are just top notch. And I know who Adam what is an understudy of in certain degrees because of who he follows in the fly tying world, Gunnar Brammer, other people, Kelly Gallup from the Slide In and Out West. I mean, some of the most well-known fly creators in the history of fly tying. And Adam knows them, and he understands their style. He understands those things. And I'm excited to have him on to talk about different fit and function of how you incorporate these materials in.
I'm ready. I want him to evaluate me. SDG Custom Lurecraft, if you're still on.
He's here.
All right. This is my everlasting gobstopper drop shotter. And it's got a unique piece of material. I cannot reveal the secret of this material. Maybe somebody will guess it. I'll be curious. You're welcome to guess it. So I tied 3 colors tonight. And so I try to find premium marabou, and that's really hard. I don't know if you guys have access to it, but I sure wish I did. But this is some premium marabou that I got. So this is tied on the BS Stinger. It's really puffy marabou. And then on the back end, I've got a little crystal flash on there. Actually, it's midge flash, right? So it throws off a little light. It's got a little purple in that too.
Just a couple of strands, Eric. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. And this tail, which the material will never wear out. I cannot break it, but it's limp, and in water it really gives a lot of action, and it can hold scent. So you talk about it.
You won't tell us what the material is, everyone.
I can't. But anyway, listen. So this will hold scent. So, that's the one problem if you're tying with fur and feather, right? If you try to apply scent, and maybe somebody's got a trick out there where you can apply scent to fur and feather and it doesn't mat it down and ruin the material. But you could dip that in, or you could apply smelly jelly to that if you wanted to, or whatever your favorite scent is. And, there you go. But I think that would smash them, man. It borrows from the marabou. I know guys have tied marabou drop shot flies, but I've never seen one with that tail. Sure, you could tie it with a little bit of zonker strip if you wanted to, which would even be more action, but that might be just a little too much for me. But again, applying the scent, but I like that skinny profile. Anyway, I tied a white and red one, SDG Custom. Let me know what you think. And I whip finished the front, tied a really thick red head, and then I just use Sally Hansen hard as nails for my finisher. I don't epoxy because it's a pain in the ass, and Sally Hansen, hard as nails, has never let me down. But anyway, just a little crystal flash there. So that's my bleeding minnow. And then, of course, you got to have the leech. So anyway, SDG, how'd I do, man? How'd I do?
Look what he said.
And who would it work? Would it work? Where's SDG? Oh, snap.
I
Me
highlighted
evaluated. Jamie, but who makes, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You got to tell me the name of the company if you know it. Oh, thank you, SDG. Awesome, man. It's not a rabbit strip with the fur off. Good idea, though.
People have guessed that several times.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not that. No, I did not clip the fur off it. But that might be even better. I don't know. It certainly would have a lot more action, I can tell you that. But I wanted something that had a little rigidity to it because, a baitfish body is not going to like flap under itself. I think a bunny strip would just be too wild. And, frankly, bunny strips can curl around the hook. I wanted something that's on the drop, not going to like wrap around the shank or the line. So I wanted something with some rigidity. So I tried to put some intent behind that design. I wanted that strip to accept scent, right, and not ruin the fly, because essentially that's a fly. I tied it on a BS, the stinger. It's a size 1 or 2, I think. Beefy hook, man. Beefy hook. That's going to hold any good smallmouth, man. It's just the correct hook. And so, I can't production tie, but I'd love to work with somebody who could production tie and offer that out. Because I've had people, I did sell some, but I'm out, and I'm not a workbench guy that can tie 100 flies. I just can't do it. But anyway, so that's another exciting thing for me at Jig Squad is to work with custom tires, maybe to bring some life to the Bass Lab, because I'd love to offer the shaky jig worm more in quantities. I did tie about 50 of them, and I sold them out like the first night.
Yeah, I mean, it's Eric. I'll tell you what.
Hit me up if you're available. I sold them for $6.99 a piece.
It's
people want them.
Eric, it takes time, and there's some guys out there that are kind of they're producing, right? They mass produce these things, so
that's right.
It is tough, you know what I mean? That's for myself. That's why I always said I don't want to get into the. It's in my life. That's what I chose. That I didn't want
right
to make things in volume. And I'm sorry, I have to post this because this little comment here just got me excited. Arctic fox hair.
That's one of my favorite materials, man. I think it's underrated. I put it in my little bag. Yeah. Arctic fox hair is in my little bag of favorite materials, man.
I bet you Adam Felder's probably going to make mention of that, or we'll talk about that a little bit next week.
I can't wait to see what he could do with it, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I've tried tying like hair jigs. I want somebody to tell me who's a really expert tyer out there watching tonight. Like,
there's a couple.
I'm in love with sculpin hair. Is that a better hair for a hair jig, than deer hair or other material for wintertime fishing? Tell me what your opinion is. I liked how it kinked. It's got some kink in it. You see the natural kink in it? I just love, and I have black. I have all different colors, but it is sculpin wool. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs down. Tell me.
I don't know.
Me either, but I love it. I've tied a bunch of jigs in it. I'm curious.
Anyone
right.
I personally think you're going to get less action and more bulk.
Okay.
Not that the bulk is going to be bad with that. Yeah, like look at Matt Acevedo made a great comment here. He goes, you can refine it by combing it, right?
Yes, so, and I do.
And you can mess around with the amount of material you use.
How but Matthew Acevedo, man, the dude throws 12-ounce swim baits, but he's also he understands the wool I just showed him. That's crazy. Matthew, you're a nut.
So listen, Trippy Sticks just said it, and one of my buddies that fishes, they hunt for big walleye, and they throw hair jigs, and they throw. Here, I'll show a comparable hair jig, and this is pretty sparse compared to what they throw. They throw even less, right? So
bucktail, baby.
Yeah, they throw bucktail, but look at it. This
got a little.
This is the material. It's not this. They're not reverse tying it.
Is that craft hair or bucktail? I can't see it. Okay,
Bucktail.
gotcha. And you
Bucktail's
got a little
flash.
you got
I'm
a little
sorry.
flash in there,
I
and
have a little.
you got a
Yeah,
pill head. It's a pill head jig.
this is the freestyle jig head from
Is
Do
it
It.
is it a pill shape like an
Aspirin
aspirin?
head. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
aspirin
pill,
head.
aspirin.
Yep.
Aspirin's a pill.
I know. So just
Don't try to
clarify.
get me on a technicality, Cuda.
No, I wouldn't do that. Do you remember a little while ago you made a mention about our attention capacities?
Yes.
And I'm looking in the box and then I'm listening and I'm talking, I'm clicking banners, I got
I know, it's
highlighted comments.
crazy.
I'm trying.
All right, so here's a great question, man.
All right.
Did you have dark? Are you always tying dark over light? You had black and purple. There's a great article I read a long time ago that inspired some of my jig tying. Now, there was a doctor, and he's an avid salmon fisherman on the West Coast, and he's an ophthalmologist that studied the salmon eye and looked at the color cones in their eye
Really?
to try to make sense of the predominant color combinations for salmon and why they're so popular. And he realized those color combinations through trial and error for fly tires,
Really?
they worked for a reason. I wonder if the same could be done. Like, could we send a bass to Dr. Kageyama and he could look at the color codes for every species and say what's the most, or do you just match the hatch? And why isn't everything green pumpkin and black and blue?
Well, I mean, here's the deal. The other thing is what happens when why is it always black and blue? What happens when a fish is wounded or dying and it's turned on its side?
Sure.
You know, I mean, the same concept applies there. For myself, I've traditionally always went dark over the top. You know,
right.
It's not that I won't. I'll tell you what. I mean, I think a white jig is probably one of the greatest things ever invented. A white twister tail grub, right? Whatever you want to throw. White with anything else you want to add to it.
That's right. Ryan Whitaker said, I went to jig design school with a guy named Les Material.
Yeah.
Oh, you just put it up there. That's funny.
By the way, Ryan Whitaker is tightrope fishing, everyone, so you know. So Ryan will be coming on with us in a couple weeks.
Hey, I think Ryan makes a jig like this, but this little puffball jig, I think, is like
it's his bread and butter.
But here's the deal. This one had a little scent ball on in it chenille. I thought that was pretty cool. So I gotta say.
Show that again, Eric.
All right, so it's a little puffball jig.
That looks like that's a fly tire special right there, brother.
Yeah, man, but that was designed for a little scent. That's pretty cool. I like the intent behind that. Not saying that every new puffball jig has to have a little, because right now you got freaking jig trailers that are made out of max scent. So what the hell am I going to put on that little puffball jig that's going to outfish max scent? Nothing.
Listen, let me ask you something. You
tell me, bro.
This impresses me because when you are on other shows, you show all these things, right?
Yeah,
And then when I see videos, I keep hearing that people say, "Yeah, Eric's trying this or trying that," or Travis is saying, "Yeah," and you're switching off and all these different things.
Yeah,
it shocks me that you have that discipline to go and try all those things. Here's my question: when is the last time you threw that puffball jig?
Oh my God, I threw it with Jimmy Steiner on the Upper Bay and frickin' caught some fish pre-spawn. So here's a jig that I caught my PB Potomac River bass on. It is a hair jig, and it's tied pretty damn sparse. What trailer did I put on the end? And I'm going to show something here. And what the hell is that sticking out the back end of that jig? This is a quiz for all you jig freaks out there. I mean, I'm sure somebody's going to get it. What is in that thing? I've shown it before, so if you're on Smallmouth Crush, I've talked about it. Don't cheat, but if you're new and you've never seen this jig, so I caught a fish that wouldn't fit in the live well. We didn't have a scale on it. He was curled in the live well. If that tells you anything about the length of the fish, and I'm not saying it was a double digit. I think it was close, but on 8-pound test on a spinning rod, 3 to 5 foot. I was crawling this along the bottom as slow as I possibly could. The one I threw, this is kind of like an dark olive. I was throwing a black one, by the way. But what did I have on the business end for my trailer? And what is this? Has anybody guessed what that is? That guy Skimpy. It's a rattle for sure. But But what is it held on by? What's that black material?
Shrink wrap.
It is shrink wrap. Isn't that a cool concept to put a glass rattle held by? It's just a simple Arky jig. It's a brown mustad, I'm sure. And Jamie, I was not in the spoils, but you're close. I won't reveal it. But I was with Captain Steve Chaconis. And has anybody guessed what I put on the back? I don't see it yet. No, it wasn't a black twister tail. I'm trying to think. Little general cut down. No, this was before Maxent, by the way. Zoom finesse worm. Nope. Shrink wrap. Yes. It's shrink wrap with a glass rattle. And I'm a big fan of glass rattles. You don't see them much in jigs or hard. Right. I love them in tubes.
I think I used them
but
years
but
ago.
I used this. I used this. It wasn't a speed crawl. I'll tell you, it was pork.
Interesting.
It was pork. It was Uncle Josh number 11 pork frog, man. Yep. There you go. And it was.
Hey, those are out again.
Yeah, I know.
They're back out, but they're crazy expensive.
Not like this. I mean, that's old stuff that's super soft. So especially for wintertime fishing, man, I think it's hard to beat. Hard to beat it. So anyway, that's my personal best jig. I bought him from a guy. What was his name, man? I don't know, but you know, $225 on the bag caught me my personal best fish on the Potomac. Isn't that crazy?
Very cool. Very cool.
8-pound test on a spinning rod. I caught 5 fish that day, and that was my biggest, and it was great. I mean, I was just dragging the jig until I felt hard cover on a drop. They moved up off the drop into about 4 to 5 foot of water. It was about an 8 to 10 foot drop. And then if I felt anything hard, I just sit there and shake it. And I caught it on a Z-bone blank that I had my buddy from Mason Rods custom timing. And I had, what are those guides? The recoil guides that don't break. And so it transferred. Yeah. And I was throwing braid to fluoro and my personal best. It's crazy, man. It was, and yes, it was 43-degree water, December 24th.
Wow.
Damn, Ray. Yes, sir, Ray, it was. Isn't that cool, guys? Isn't that cool? That's jig. Cool. That's jig stuff. What got me to that jig was I'm like, damn, that's a little jig. That's perfect for some pork. And I said, what the hell's on the end of it? And the guy goes, I put heat shrink tubing and a glass rattle. And I'm like, I'm sold.
It's a great idea.
And literally, I bought every single one of them. I got black and blue. I got olive, that dark olive you saw. And I've lost a lot of them, man. But that modified little Arky head and the hook is just stout enough to hold a big fish, but easy to penetrate for those tough winter mouths that the fish get, man. Paul, E-Pork Trailer. Yeah, man. Somebody just said that. Matthew, the guy just came out with him. You're right.
Yeah, there you go. Eric, we're going to next week remember about shrink wrap because I think people may have heard me talk about it at varying times when I've been on different things, but Adam's the guy I learned my little trick about heat shrink for painting jigs. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit with him next week because he's the guy I got it from. So I'm going to tip my hat to him on that one. All right, Eric, I got a question for you, buddy.
What you got, man?
So,
what, you want to see what's in this bag? No, I'm just messing with
you.
No,
don't do that. Don't do that. Listen, I don't even want to say it's. I don't even know if Travis is still in here. He was.
Travis was here?
Oh yeah, Travis was here.
Smallmouth Crush showed up?
Yeah, he was here. I don't know if he's still in here.
Travis is the man. I must have missed it. Was I yapping?
About what's that? No,
Jamie,
he said one thing.
It wasn't South Point.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to jinx it because this is the first show that I've ever seen you on where I haven't seen a CRANKBAIT show up. And I see him in the background. Well, you're doing great. I'm so impressed.
I got to show my June bug.
You almost made it.
You shouldn't have brought it up. I would have never showed it, man.
I had to because I kind of wanted you to show it. So listen, for anyone who's out there, we're Jig Squad, but I got to tell you, you got to pay homage to Eric here a little bit because he is the proprietor of the Bass Lab, as I said, and he loves his purple crane. He loves his June bug crane.
That's right. That's right.
I've never seen a show where this man has not pulled a crankbait out. Maybe not his June bug crane. He's shown others.
That's right.
But he deserves to show it. The streak must go on. Eric, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
All right. So flow color design. All right. Are there where are you drawn to first when you hear those three words?
Man, good question. I'd say design and then color.
Okay.
My man, it's so hard for me because those are all really important to me, man. Like,
And
you
they're
know,
interwoven.
they really are. So like this is, I don't know, it's the whole creative process. Like, I know I love the flow of marabou. Nothing in nature flows like marabou. It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we tie treble hooks on the backs of poppers with marabou? Would that be better than a chicken feather? Or why not a hybrid, treble hook? I don't know. I'd like to try it. It wouldn't last long, but would it catch more fish come tournament day? I'm not sure. But just a treble hook sitting there with marabou going like this, I mean, literally, you don't even have to do anything. It's just doing that in the water. It's so alive.
Right.
And I'm not saying that that's what you need every time, but there's so much design for me going into that, or this vibrating jig with all the crazy stuff on it, or the shaky jig worm, combining two. So I'd have to say design. And then color is a very strong second, and flow is right there too, man. It's so hard, dude. It's impossible.
It is hard. And
I think about color a lot, though.
I know
I'm a man after your own heart because, if you look at my crankbait game and how I'm always adding little decorations to stuff, and I'll show another crankbait. TK is going to paint these in production, but I wanted to do an homage to you talked about Aaron's Morning Dawn. And I nailed it. That's Aaron's Morning Dawn because it has a white belly. But I wanted to paint a true Aaron's Morning Dawn crankbait, and I got it. I mean, literally, I did it. I mean, that's that worm and crankbait right there. That's crazy. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. But so color gets me all the time. Because I mean, that's the first thing that my eyes drawn to. But then I want to understand, why is a bait designed the way it is, right? Whether it's a crankbait or a jig. Like, I was thinking about it. I was searching around for a football jig that wouldn't get snagged up as much as most football jigs do, right?
Okay.
That's everybody's just pull your hair out. Like fishing with Travis, his new sniper jig. I mean, you're just going to get snagged. It's not about the sniper jig. It's about any jig in current. Is there something going on with the design? And if you thought about the head differently, and then I stumbled upon this football jig, I think it's made by Owner or Gamakatsu, where it's most of the weight is on the bottom and that hook and line ties way up top, and would that come through the rocks better? Is there a shape that would be better? So I think about design a lot.
You do think about those components of design. I'll be honest with you, Eric, interesting enough, like probably more in depth than most other designers I know.
Right.
Like, I don't think about, I don't go into it in the depth that you do with those things, right? Like I go to a certain point and I think about those things, but never to that greater extent like you do. And I appreciate that about your mind sometimes, because it's all true. It's great conversation. Eric, let me ask you a question. Painting. Tell me about using nail polish on painting jigs.
Man, I used it.
It's not just the cranks, which I think you're a master at, but I also want people to hear about you using nail polish, fit and function on a jig.
Well, look, so I to be fair, I got Do It, right? And so I put Do It, the dip, heated up the jig head, dipped it, because this was a naked lead jig before I put it, and I wanted a fire crawl shaky jig worm.
Sure.
Right? So that's my rendition of fire crawl. Anyway, and then I don't know if you could see it, but see the fleck on there?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. It's in focus now. That's nail polish. That's nail polish. So I wanted a speckled effect, and I just coated it with nail polish right after it was bright orange. Coated it with nail polish. Same thing with a lot of these jigs, man. Like, no, that came that way. No, I threw a little black on that. Yeah, I mean, I did that with almost all the colors, right? So yeah, I mean, nail polish can be used if you don't have dip. You could add a two-tone. You could take a white jig and throw some red on the throat. Here, hold on.
Sure.
I'll show you another one I just did the other night, and I caught some good bass with Travis recently. I took these. It's one of my favorite little jig heads. This is a mega bass. It's an Okashira screw head, and you put a little swim bait on the back. It came in a shad color, but I'm like, you know what? Smallmouth love chartreuse. So I did a little chartreuse throat and then just a little bit of red nail polish. I went over it in clear to blend it. And then I threw a little red gill on the side. I do that all the time. So, now I've got, it doesn't matter. I don't know. If they're looking up and they see that chartreuse, does that attract them? I think smallmouth freaking love chartreuse. So,
Especially chartreuse.
damn right. Right. So I took a plain silver shad with a white belly and made it a chartreuse belly with nail polish.
Eric, look at this question.
Cheap.
Look what TK just said.
TK Stanley's here.
Interesting question. Is there a material color in the jig tying world that's discontinued and people are really on the hunt for? I don't have anything top of my head.
TK's got a point. I mean, not the giant square cut, but I'd say the flat living rubber.
Right.
Like they use and well, they still make that though. For what's that little safety pin spinnerbait out there? Who else makes that? There's a couple spinnerbait companies. God, what is the name of that spinnerbait? I've got it upstairs.
What do you mean?
Anyway, it's flat. It's like this. It's like this material. See, this is rubber and it's flat. It's not square. It's not round.
Right.
It's flat.
Because square and flat are not the same thing.
This is uber thin and it's literally rubber. So right. I don't think anybody makes that in tabs that I've seen. No. I think it would be incredible on a jig. I thought they stopped making Silaflex, but I got a bunch. They still make it. TK showed me a video and I'm like, damn, that might make a crazy good swim jig. I'd say this, not the large giant square cut rubber, but I think they stopped making this. Tell me if I'm wrong, guys. I think they discontinued it. It's square cut, old school, and it's not giant square cut rubber, but this is square cut rubber. Yeah. And it's old school, and it was at Jig Skirts, and I think they discontinued it. I don't know.
Hey, Matt Acevedo's asking. He goes, "Can you use your clear coat nail polish over wood baits that get rashed up?"
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I do it all the time, no question about it. Like if you got rash, I mean, TK will tell you better than me, but I think I've seen guys use super glue and baking soda to put stop gouging. You could use wood filler, I guess, too, but I've used all sorts of materials. I've never used baking soda and super glue, fair disclosure. But yeah, I've painted over many a crankbait that had a ding where the wood was showing and water would get in. I'd find a color that matches, paint it, and then put clear over that, try to blend the colors. Doesn't matter. Nope. Add little gill plates to it, add little throat colors that if I want to bump up the color, there's no chartreuse on the bottom. I'll paint the whole thing chartreuse. Yeah, I mean, it's endless. Sure. Sally Hansen, hard as nails, or any freaking brand. It's all lacquer and it goes right on top. There are some coatings like on Lucky Craft, some of their matte finishes with the paint on top of them and the paint bubbled up. I freaking ruined the bait. I don't know. TK could probably tell you what was going on there, but for sure, man.
Eric, let's talk just briefly too about what some of the future stuff. So I talked a little bit about we have some show guests coming up. So SDG Custom Lorecraft is coming on the 6th, and then on the 13th, Ryan Whitaker from Tightrope Jigs is going to be here. And then I'm working on a couple other guests past that.
Yep.
A lot of people, I have on my list, and I just needed to get this thing going, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man. I think you knocked it out of the box, man. You killed it.
I want to make sure. I want to tell everyone again, right? You guys heard me. If you guys kind of missed and came in a little later, let me say it again. I know a lot of times there's these Instagram pages that like post stuff and repost other people's pics. That's not my jam. That's not my game. It's not my intention. My intention is to highlight designers and in the industry about flow, color design, designing with intent, people's stories. I want people to have a voice. You will never be misled by me in any way, right? You want to know who supports this show? Me, myself, and I, and Epic Eric. Who do I support? I work with one company right now, and that's it. I work with Do It Molds. Why? Because I make jigs.
That's right.
I've been making jigs. I use Do It Molds. They are my jam. They are my people. They are the thing I do, right? A lot of other people talk about other things. Hey, you know what? Go ahead. Do your thing, right? This is what I do, right? I don't want to mislead anyone. I put a link down there, guys, so you know, in the description.
They got a lot of great stuff, man.
I don't get any dollars by you clicking on that link. You know, that's not how it works. It's for Do It Molds to see. And I want to explain this to people so they understand. That's so Do It Molds to see if I send some traffic their way. If you buy stuff from them, great. If you're just looking, use my link, right? Follow through. I think the world of everyone. If you're here tonight in some capacity, I've crossed paths with you, whether it be directly through the Jig Squad Instagram page or I've watched like Fishing with Gramps was in here. Hey, Fishing with Gramps, I don't know if you're still in here, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I think I may have seen yesterday. Maybe you had a different time originally for your show this evening, and then I saw that time changed a little bit. I appreciate you a ton, buddy. I appreciate you jumping in and stopping by. Everyone who came in, regardless of what you do, you're a YouTuber, you're a jig maker, you're an Instagram troll. I don't know, any of the things that we do. You see my face tonight. You see Epic Eric, and this is what we are.
That's right. That's right. Hey, I see 32 people liked, but if you comment, that helps Cuda out, man, in the Jig Squad. Oh, yeah. So if you can throw a comment if you like tonight's show, man, and you found something of value, man, I appreciate all the questions, comments, man. That was fantastic. Thanks, and here's to a successful 2022. Thank you, Cuda, for starting the revolution.
Yeah, guys, this is I'm excited. I really am. And I think, you know what the thing is, Eric? This is, I learned how to make banners and thumbnails and all this other stuff. You know, I took the time to do it. I'm clicking through these banners. I keep going back to chat, and I'll get better with all of it. But yeah, guys, I'm going to work hard to have a good experience for all of us. And what do you owe me? You owe me nothing.
That's right.
I don't want anything from anybody other than for people to show up and have a good time and talk jigs.
You dang right.
And learn something.
Hey, I'll leave you with this, man. It's my big eye swim jig, man. I'm all about the big eyes, man. It's a Brovarni head and tied sparse with a little bit of freaking that's my color jam on the Bro Tomac right there. Ooh, I shouldn't have shown that, should I? And a little bit of Sally Hansen on the bottom. You damn right that is. You damn right that's Sally Hansen. No, that's probably Essie. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, look at that. Look at that little copper flash right there. See that?
That's something different.
And I think I put a little bit of that blue. I was trying to get that bluegill blue on the side. You know how that aqua shows up and flashes? I mean, not that they're going to be looking at it when it's swimming by them, man, but I think the eyeball does the trick. If I'm slow rolling that swim jig, man, slow rolling, it hits a piece of milfoil and I go pop, pop, and that thing is coming down there. See that eye? Look at you.
Just
see that eye?
A little bit of flash.
That bass can see faster than you, Cuda. He saw the eye. That's the big eye jig. I'm all about big eyes, man.
I stopped listening after you said color. I was so excited. Eric, you are awesome, brother. I appreciate you a ton, you guys. I think we're going to get out of here.
Hey, one more thing. When you were talking earlier,
let's go.
One more thing. I want you. This would be great if we could find somebody. There's been some really good movie parodies on Instagram. I forget the guy that produces it. He's pretty good. But when you were like, I just want to tie jigs. I'm all about the jig. It reminded me of that scene in Officer and a Gentleman where he goes, I want to fly jets. I just want to tie jigs.
I want to make jigs.
That's right. You eyeballing me, Mayo? Nays. Don't be eyeballing me.
Oh, gosh. Eric, you are awesome, buddy. I appreciate you tremendously.
Man, this
everyone
is
out
fun.
there, follow along on Instagram. I'm going to keep posting your work for those out there. And we're going to hit it. For sure in January. Eric's got some big things coming up too, right? So we're basically going to hit. We're basically going to try and go weekly as we go through January. So the next 2 weeks we have shows coming up. Guys, listen, do everything you can. I'm not going to tell you, like, subscribe, don't like and subscribe. I really don't care. I appreciate that you're here and you're in chat. That's what I like.
That's right. That's right.
If you guys jump on Instagram, that's probably one of the best places to sell the wares around here and really get the word out about Jig Squad. Use the hashtag. Have fun with this.
That's right.
We will make of this what we do together as a squad. Whole squad ready. The Migos. Everyone laughs when I play that song. Whole squad ready. Guys, I appreciate you a ton. Thank you very much. How many people did we get in here tonight? Anyone see a number?
49 was the top I saw. 49.
I will take that for my first show or our first show any day of the week.
There's some pretty dang big streams, man. They get like in the 50s and 60s. They will remain nameless, but
we are going to keep growing.
I'm saying something.
Share, folks. I appreciate you a ton. And get ready because next week we got Adam Felder coming on from SDG Custom Lure Craft.
Boom.
And I appreciate you a ton. Eric, you got anything else before we get out?
No, man. I'm looking forward to the show schedule. I'm looking forward to, creating alongside some incredible jig makers, learning from them, being inspired by them. Maybe finding somebody that can help me make a few of these things that I've been cooking up in the Bass Lab that can production tie. Yes. I'm here for the creation, the talk, man, the energy, the enthusiasm. And for you, Cuda, you're good people, man. This is my jam. Creation, baby.
Ride, buddy.
That's right. I would say this, man. Flow color design. My first one would be create.
So listen, I'll put that in your
I don't think we could have 4 words. These are your 3 words, man. But it would be because really, when you're doing that, you're creating, and so that's what I'm all about, man. I love the creative process. I love creating.
I love creating too. I'm going to put create. I'm going to put that word in on your little Trout River stream I made for you.
That's right, man.
Creation. That's being my next tag.
It's alive, baby. It's alive, man. You did great, Cuda. Hey, man, everybody give a hand to Cuda out there. I can hear you all clapping.
I got a little outro. I'm going to play the outro.
What?
That is it, guys. Peace. We'll see you next week.
That's right. That's right.
Here
Thanks for joining us, everybody. You guys are great out there. Great chat. Guys. Great chat tonight, man. Thank you for coming.